Welcome everyone to Foreman Community Demo for today, take 2. Hopefully we are done with all our technical difficulties. A reminder, IRC or the Q&A.
With you, Merrick. Okay.
Q&A app for questions. We'll jump right in with Merrick to talk about the host status split.
Okay. I suppose you can screen my. You can see my browser. So I'll start. I'll just increase the font a bit. So I've been working on the changes related to the status of the host, and the first obvious change you can see is that there is a new icon next to the host name, and you can see there are 3 of them: the yellow one, green one, and red one. And actually, these are the new possible values of the host status. We call it global status, and basically the yellow means there is some warning, something that you should be aware of. Green one is obviously okay, and the red one with exclamation mark means that there is some error. Previously, there used to be more statuses that came from the Puppet report, and there were some colors and letters next to the host name, but currently we have only these 3 values. But don't be scared, we still have this information, but we just moved it to some substatus. We call it configuration status. So let's see how we did it. When I open 3 host here, the first one is warning, and the warning global status is based on all substatuses. One substatus is the configuration status. It's basically the same what we have before as a Puppet status, is just renamed. So here you can see we have the status information. The first one is the global one, and then here we see 2 substatuses. The second one is the configuration, which, as I said, is based on the Puppet report, and you can see that there is a no report for this host, which means it's some warning, because we expect some reports to be there for the host, because this host has some Puppet proxy assigned. The second status here is the build. So these are 2 substatuses we have in core built in, and you can see that the build status is pending installation, which means this host should boot and start provisioning. When I cancel the build here, it should change its build state to install, which means the host is supposed to be installed. So what we do is that we take all the substatuses, currently these 2, and each substatus has a mapping of its own possible status values to the global status. So there is hard-coded that the no reports is actually warning for the global status. The second host here seems okay, and you can see that there is just one substatus of configuration. There is no build status, and this is because this host is actually unmanaged, so we can't really build it, and only thing we have is the configuration status. And here the no reports is actually also considered okay, which is because this host doesn't even have the Puppet proxy assigned, which means we don't really expect to have any report for this host. Just to show you that the host is first, it's unmanaged, so I see the manage host button here, and it doesn't have any Puppet master assigned. Therefore, we don't expect any report for it, and therefore the no reports is actually mapped to green, to OK global status. And the third one here, as you can see, is in error status. Again, it's caused by the configuration, because it seems that some of the report, actually the last report, is in error state. So we check the reports here. We should see that there is some failure from the last Puppet run, as you can see here. We kept the searching capabilities as it was before, so you can still search for hosts based on the configuration status like this. So all your bookmarks should work. So for example, status failed is higher than 0 should find all hosts that have the issue with the Puppet. And also we added one more thing here. You can use global status, and there are 3 values: OK, warning, and error. One more thing I wanted to show is the API. So when we load, I'll increase the font here as well. When we load the host here and search for the status, you can see it. There's a global status, and it also has the label, which is like words for the number that you can see here. We kept the Puppet status here for compatibility reasons, and also here's the configuration status, which is the same thing. It's just an alias, but we also added a label for this. And here you can see a build status. So as I said, we have 2 substatuses built in Foreman core, but plugins can add more status easily. It's documented on our wiki page, or in our projects, in our tracker. So you can see it's just based, or basically you just define your own statuses, then you define a mapping function to the global status and add some human readable names for them, and then you just register your new class, and that's it. So you can imagine adding statuses for example, for remote execution, or for OpenSCAP plugin, or maybe ABRT plugin, stuff like that. So that's basically it, unless there are any questions.
There was one question about plugins and how they add status, but you did answer that right there at the end. And then there was a second question. Do you take the worst status, or can I configure how to roll up the status?
Right. So we iterate over all substatuses and take the worst. So if there is at least one which is error, the global status will be error, and so forth.
All right, thank you, Merrick. If you'll stick around just for a few minutes in case questions come up due to the delay. The next presenter will be, I think, Yvonne, to give us an update on Foreman remote execution.
Hello, you should see my desktop. So I will show part of the demo for the setting of the future of the execution, and then I will turn over to Marek and then to Steven to show live updates and work on selecting the smart proxy for the remote execution. So the things that we will show today are all either in or in getting to merge state, and we are going to get the releases out probably next week, in the beginning of the next week, and hopefully for both 1.9 and the nightlies. So first I will go and show the ability to set the execution into the future. That was done by Adam mostly. So what I will do is increase the font size, and I will execute something on my local host so that we can see it was already done. So I will follow the job invocation form that you've probably already seen, and what I will change here is instead of run the job now, I will schedule future job, and I will set it to let's say in 2 minutes, and I will use the notify me job that has basically will execute a script on my host to show a pop-up notification. Let's see if I can do it in 2 minutes. So you can see it was set for future. If we list the jobs, we'll see this job set for execution at some time. We can also set the targeting for from static to dynamic, which means that this search query will not get evaluated right when I invoke the job, but will get evaluated later. So if I set this for this time and I use the dynamic query, it would mean that the final set of hosts will not, or is not known yet, but you can follow the link and see all the hosts that conform this search query. This would be more valuable with something like search query based on the Puppet facts and so on. I can also just cancel the job, which means, okay, I will not run it anymore. You can see in the meantime, I got the time to finish notification, which means that the 2 minutes just passed and everything was executed. So that's basically how the future execution works. So the important thing is you can set the time for the future. You can decide if the search query will get evaluated right away or later, and you can cancel these things if possible, or it should be possible. There is one more field that you might be interested in, and it's start before field, which is in cases where, let's say, the smart proxy is not available or the executor is not running for this scheduling, and it would get executed or started at some point. So basically this time would allow you to specify some timeout or to make sure that if the executor or the scheduling service is not up at before this time, then the job would not just get executed. It's more a fallback scenario, but it's good to know about that. So showing this, I would turn over to Marek for the live updates demo.
Okay, hello again. So you should see my browser. So I would like to show you one thing that I've been working on recently. Just set up the form here. So let me just run some quick ping job on 10 hosts. And if you remember last time I showed you that you have to refresh the page all the time so you can see the progress. This is no longer true. Right now you can see I didn't even click refresh and there's already a chart here, and hopefully it will start. Yeah, it's updating automatically for me. So you can see that there are already some failures, some running, and something is still pending. And now I see it finished. Currently, I would expect when I go to host that I would see all the hosts there. It's not true yet. We are working on that, so there is still one refresh that I have to do. But here I can see all the statuses. And one more change here is then when I go to details, I actually see the output of the command. So I see the standard output and standard error of that. Let me just rerun that again. Now with the different parameters, so it will take longer time. So let's do 100 pings. So now I have to do one refresh so I get the host links here. And if I go to details here, I should see the live updating output of the command here. I can scroll the bottom. If we wait for a while and it reaches the bottom of my screen, it should auto scroll with that if I'm at the bottom of the screen. So now it scrolls. Well, seems like something's broken when I zoom the font. Anyway, one more thing I wanted to show is when we run it again, and for this time just on one host, and we do the package installation, for example. Now, one refresh, and we can see, hopefully, that there will be more data. And I want to demonstrate that we capture standard output and standard error. So you can see this was on standard error, these lines. You can toggle them so they don't bother you when you want to concentrate on just on the standard output. You can also see the command that was executed. And last nit is that we also stored the timestamp when the line was added. So if you hover over the number of the line, you can see the small timestamp here. And that's basically it.
All right, we had a few questions. The first we'll take from the Q&A app. Is there recurring schedule?
Yeah, so we take this as another feature that is being worked on right now, and the basic I've seen running on Adam's computer. We are waiting for the tests and for the PR, but yeah, there will be the third option and ability to control the reoccurring tasks. We also have one thing to show by Steven, so we can proceed to that as well. But we can take questions now.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize that there was still more to go.
Okay, so let's take Steven's demo as well, and then we'll answer the rest of the questions.
Okay, hopefully you can see my screen.
We can.
Okay, good. So what I'm going to demo is a new feature regarding how we determine which proxy to execute on. Currently, if you're using remote execution, it's a bit simplistic in how it decides which proxy to execute on. So there's two ways we do it. The first is we look at all the proxies on the host. And we look at the Puppet, the DNS, the TFTP, all the proxies are related to the host, and see if any of them have remote execution. If they do, then we pick the first one we find. If we don't find one, then we look at the global scope for any proxy that has that feature. That doesn't work particularly well in any kind of complicated networking setup. So what this feature does is you can now associate remote execution proxies to your subnet. So if you go to your subnet and go to the remote execution tab, you can actually assign multiple remote execution proxies. And what happens with this information is if you go to a host's interfaces tab, you'll see that there's a new kind of interface called execution. Let me change the interface to this one. So we now will look at this subnet first. So if you have a more complicated networking setup, then you can use this subnet feature. So if I go to execute a job on a bunch of hosts, these 5 hosts right here are all on the same subnet. And what's going to happen is it's actually going to do a round robin on all of the proxies that are available in your subnet. So you also get high availability through this. So if there's a particular proxy that's down, it won't be used. So it will go against all the proxies that are available, and it will use a round robin to distribute the jobs. So if you actually go into each of the jobs here and look at the output, you can see that it switches between the two proxies that I have available. And that's really it. Thanks.
Sorry, so I think we have two questions. I'll take the one from the Q&A app first, which it says, how does it deal with long output?
Yeah, so we deal right now with it that we have the issue open to deal with this later. So we don't particularly handle the long output case right now, but we have on action items that we want to handle. So Lukasz will probably reach to you for your opinions.
And then we had an IRC question asking if I think the scheduling aspect uses cron on the capsules.
No, we use the scheduling capability of the Dimeflow itself, and so the Dimeflow is basically able to get the time interval when the task should be triggered, and we built on top of that in the Foreman tasks the ability to specify the recurring thing. So we are not leveraging the cron here, mostly for being able to control the execution better and the canceling and all those things that it's good to have under our control.
All right, that is all the questions that we have currently. We'll move on to the next presenter, which will be Martin, giving us a look at the installer scenarios.
Hi, I'll share my camera. Okay. Can you see my terminal?
We can. Can you make it just a little bigger?
Like that?
That looks good.
Okay, awesome. So, I have some update on installer scenarios work. Till now, the Foreman installer used config file to describe available Puppet modules and various scripts, and answer file to set the available options for those Puppet modules. I will refer to that pair as a scenario. Well, the goal of my work is to add to CAFO, which is the main installer library, add to that library support for multiple scenarios. Because currently, for example, with Foreman installer, it is possible to install separate smart proxy, but it's quite difficult because you need to know a lot of switches and one-line options to set up the proper Puppet modules and the options. So that was the reason why we wanted to introduce more config files or scenarios into the installer. And the changes necessary for this modification are the follows. The configuration file moved to a new location, which is etc foreman installer scenarios.d. This allows us to create more scenarios, and also this allows us easily package them separately. For example, if some Foreman plugin wants to add some new scenario, it is possible to package it separately as a plugin to the Foreman installer. The format of the config file changed slightly. We changed the path, usually the path to Puppet modules and to hook scripts and config check scripts, which are now lists and support multiple locations for these files. And that's basically it. I try to make the changes as small as possible to make the Foreman updates easy. I'll show you how that works currently. If you run a Foreman installer without any parameters, it doesn't do anything because it's missing the configuration. Because now, when there can be more of them, you need to specify which one you want to use. If you use Foreman installer in interactive mode, it offers you the available scenarios, and you can choose one of them, and the installation will go on as it used to before. I'll show that later. Yeah, the problem is that even the help is dynamic in Foreman installer and is generated from the config file, because the help contains a lot of options from the Puppet modules that can be used in the installer. So even for help, you should specify the scenario you would like to use. We can list the available scenarios from command line. Currently, we have 2 available scenarios. You can see them also in the list of the files from the install scenarios D directory. If I run installer-h for help with the scenario, for example, Foreman Proxy, I will see full help only with options that are related to modules that are specific for these scenarios. The list of the Puppet modules can be seen so in the help. You can see that it's a lot shorter list than for full Foreman installer. If I run Foreman installer with the scenarios, it works as we are used to. Okay, it finished, and there was problem because when we want to rerun Foreman installer without parameters, we want to run the last scenario used. So we had to add some way how to remember the last used scenarios. So we created link in the scenarios D directory aiming to the scenario used. You can see it here. So if I now rerun Foreman installer without any parameters, it will use the last scenario that was chosen and proceed the installation with the parameters that we provided. This is work in progress. You can watch the progress in the CAFO project. There is pull request. In the description of the pull request is most information from this demo. We are trying to use this work in feature team Catalan Foreman, And as a proof of concept, Brett Buckingham is converted capsule installer from catalog to install a scenario for Foreman installer. The work looks promising so far, so I hope we'll be able to merge this soon. And that's about it. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, there is a question from Ohad. What do I need in order to create my own scenario? Create own scenario is easy. You just have to create new files in the directory. Like we did for example, Foreman proxy. So there has to be Foreman or scenario name .yaml and the answer file that is related to that config file. The format is almost the same as it was up to now, so it's described in CAFO documentation. And there is one more question: if one scenario can include another. No, that's not possible at the moment. We choose not to add this because it creates some extra complexity. I think this can be added later, but for now we choose not to do that.
All right. Thank you, Martin. Moving on. Will be Dimitri showing off image-based provisioning for libvirt.
Can you guys hear me all right? You should see my screen already.
Good to go.
Alrighty. Okay, so a couple of things before I actually show the functionality. The compute resource. So I have a libvirt compute resource configured. So there are a couple of things that are specific to this particular scenario, which is image-based provisioning. So one is that you need to have an image registered with it, which is a bit dated, but it works for this demo. So I just left it alone. And another one is that you need to don't remember where exactly this is done. Because otherwise the computer data will not be rendered. Anyway, so yeah, as I said, the other thing is the computer data template. You need to associate it with the operating system that you're going to be using. So it's not much. It's pretty standard. Let me just find it. Go somewhere here. No, I think that's this one. Nope. Yeah, that's the one. So what we do here is that, and that's somewhat atomic specific stuff. So we create a group, we create a different default user because root user is gonna have a password that you cannot change, and you cannot change it with using Cloud Init. And some other stuff, like we're adding sudo access and things like this. And probably the main disclaimer is that this relies on Cloud Init. So right now we have support for Cloud Init in Fedora, CentOS, and I think RHEL. I'm not sure about other platforms. So as you noticed, it's libvirt, name touch interfaces. So image-based provisioning, I only have one image, so I don't have to pick it. I'll set password here. Also going to change to 1 gig. I think there were issues with below 1 gig. So if you check the templates, oh, that's an interesting one.
Dmitry, I'm not seeing your screen, and I heard others are not seeing your screen either. I don't know if you can.
Oh, let me try it again.
Please share.
Can you see it now?
Nope.
Okay, again.
Nope.
Hang on. How about now?
Still nothing.
All right. I'm not sure what's going on.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll move on down the line and then we can see if it clears up towards the end.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries. Today is the day for technical difficulties, apparently. All right, we'll move over to Lukasz to talk about configuring Foreman with existing services.
Okay, this will be pretty short. I have a quick update. I wrote a document about configuring Smart Proxy with external services. By that, I mean configuring Smart Proxy to reach external services that are running on different servers. That includes CFTP, DHCP, and DNS. So these are services for provisioning, and so we have a document emerging. The link was been sent to the development list, and we would like to incorporate this into our documentation. And and everything was possible. The only two drawbacks were NFS configuration and firewalling, which is described in the documentation clearly. And the second issue was everything worked out of box with the current Foreman version 1.9, except the DHCP. I had to do a small patch, which has been merged now. It's in nightly, which created a new DHCP server option, which allows to configure NS update. To configure the AMAPI software to reach out the external service, and that's it. So this was a quick update on with Foreman 1.10. It should be pretty easy to configure with external services for provisioning.
All right, thank you, Lukash. We'll move over to Ori to talk about usability of parameters updates.
Okay, I'm just sharing my screen. Okay, so the biggest change we had merged lately was separating between.
I don't see your screen yet. Oh, there it is.
Okay, now you see it?
Yep, you're good now.
So the biggest change we did lately was separating between smart variables and smart class parameters. The only effect you should see is the fact that now smart variables only shows the index page of really only the smart variables. It used to be class parameters and variables over here. The difference was if you saw the puppet class or not. So now you have the puppet class also in smart variables, and you can see the smart parameters in their own index page. This is the only difference that should be seen, so if anyone sees any regression, please tell us. Another change, last time you saw the parameters tab on host and host group, and you saw the prototype in the last demo. Not all the changes are done yet, but these are the changes that are in right now. So you can clearly see the parameter classes part and the global parameters part. And if you override parameters, then you see it in the relevant part of the tab. So you don't have puppet classes and then global and then puppet classes again. So it keeps to its own part. Same thing with global, they're down here. Another change was the editor for global parameters, not just global parameters, but the editor for templates is now also in global parameters, so you have some more room. You can open it in full screen, change syntax, things like that. If your value is hidden, then you just get the regular hidden value. You don't see the full editor. If I remove, it goes back to the full editor. And the last thing, which is a pretty small change, is merge overrides. There is now a new checkbox for merge default. So if you want to merge all your overrides and you also want to have your default value in, then you can check merge default. The default value will be the one with the least priority. So if you have anything that overrides it and one of the in your order, then it's as if I wrote default as underneath everything. Like default will be overridden if there is an option to override it. But if it's an array, then it will just add all of the values. If you have a hash there, then it might remove your default value because it gets the least priority. That's it.
Very nice. Thank you, Ori. We'll move next to Justin to talk about host unification updates.
All right. You should be able to see my screen now. We've worked.
We cannot.
No, we cannot.
Now we can.
Okay. So we've been working the past couple weeks on host unification. That is both providing a way for hosts to be sort of broken up into multiple aspects or facets, and as well as converting the Catello to use these facets or aspects for content and subscriptions. We don't have a lot to show today because we are working on a lot of things behind the scene. But one interesting thing I can show is we do have updated, and this is actually isn't in master yet, but we have host creation occurring on Subscription Manager registration. So if you see here running Subscription Manager, I can then refresh. and be forced to log in again. And now I have a new host. This isn't fully complete, so for example, we don't have an operating system. And we can actually click on that host and see things such as the network information here. But generally this host is not going to contain too much, just basically a content view and environment, lifecycle environment. And if I click, you can see the actual subscription status. And this will take us currently to the old UI, or the other UI, to see the content host part of the host. So the end goal is that these hosts will be a single model, or single object, I should say. So they're controlled similarly, they have the same ID, that sort of thing. And that is all I have to show.
Thank you, Justin. Next up, we'll go over to Daniel to talk about atomic bare metal host provisioning.
All right, let me share my screen. All right, so the changes to for
green yet, Daniel?
What's that? What's that?
Oh, there's your screen. Okay, we're good.
We're good. Okay. So the changes that we've made so that atomic can be provisioned on bare metal are fairly minimal. We've just added provisioning template, sorry, a Kickstarter template, so that so that your Fedora, CentOS, and Rail VMs will be able to fetch the atomic Kickstarter trees through the Os3 command, and also we've modified the the regular Pixie, default Pixie template, so that it matches with atomic OSs. I'm going to open that default Pixie template and see how it does it. Sorry, it's not that one.
Daniel, any chance to increase the font, please?
Yeah. Okay. Just a second. Yeah, Kickstarter default Pixie. Yeah. So, is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So the way it works is pretty simple. It just looks in your operating system name whether it's atomic or not. If it contains atomic in the name, it will put this repo command in the Kickstarter template. For the rest of it, it's basically the same as Fedora. It's basically the same Pixie command as the one we have for Fedora above the 16 version. Then the other thing, the Kickstarter itself is a little different. It contains a parameter. It contains a parameter atomic upstream that if you enable it and you are provisioning Fedora Atomic or CentOS Atomic, it will try to match your host OS version with this URL, which is the URL to download Fedora Atomic or CentOS Atomic, and download the OS3 tree from there. If not, it will simply use the installation media that we normally have in Foreman. anything else? For rel, we only support installing from bare metal because I didn't see any public URL that will work in the same way as this, and also the format of the URL is a little different. And yeah, it's fairly simple. The process is the same as for any other OS. It's the only key part in this thing is that you have to include the word atomic within the name of the OS. So what I do is just to put a dash atomic, and what I'm doing here is simply putting this dash atomic and connecting it to an installation media. In this case, is a local mirror. If you download the image here from Fedora Cloud and mount it, you can use that. So even on the same Foreman host, I've deployed it in /pub Fedora Atomic, and you should see something like that once you mount the image in that directory or wherever you want. Then you put it on the installation media. You connect that installation media with the operating system that I showed before. So in this case, just pub Fedora Atomic. Then you go to new host, select wherever you want to deploy it, come here, and it's the same options as for any other OS. I was going to show how I can boot a VM with it if you want, but I don't think it's there's much interest in that. It's basically the same as any other OS.
And I'm going to call time on you.
Okay.
So,
see. Are there any questions?
There aren't currently, but you know, you'll stick around just in case for the delay.
Okay.
I am going to step real quick back to the previous host unification update. There was one question that came in for Justin, which is that subscription status using the global status stuff from earlier?
It is not currently. It's just using the same status that was there prior. When planning host unification, we didn't consider the shared status, but I do plan on adding a story to cover the shared status as part of host unification. So short answer, it will in the future.
All right. Thanks, Justin. And thank you, Daniel, for your presentation. We'll move over to Partha to talk about Os3 with Humor CLI.
Hello. Yeah, I'm sharing my desktop. Just a second. Oops. You guys see my terminal?
Yep, you're good. Go for it.
All right. So, yeah, today I'm just going to quickly run through there with my Hammer stuff, with the atomic related, the Os3 related stuff that we did. Last sprint demo, I showed the UI side where we let you create the Os3 repos via the UI. I wanted to today just show that we can do that in the CLI also. And in addition, there were a couple of adds there, a couple of new functionality which I was going to demo. Let's start quickly. So I created a product called demo here. One of the changes you'll see is there are two things. Content type. There's an Os3 that got added, and then there's like you can specify Os3 branches. Now, to put you back to how that looks. Let's take a sample. Oops. Let's take a sample Fedora project. Let's take a sample Os3 repository to just give a feel of how that looks like. So here is an Os3 repository. It looks like a typical Git directory, and two parts to it. There's a ref here. There's the branches here. These are called the branches, and this is just like a commit hash, so just like Git. So when you're creating a repo, Os3 repo in Kitello or Foreman or Sad, for that matter, what you'll have to specify is you'll have to specify the feed URL, which is this part. You will have to specify this part, the ref spec or the commit hash. You have to upload this, so you'll have to specify this part. These are called the branches. Okay. So, let me go back. Let me do a quick create. So name. And okay, let me give a feed URL. By default, feed URL is there. So -- URL. This part here. Part here are the branches. And let's say I want it under. I have my favorite product here. I'm going to put it under that. I know the ID. Sorry, forgot that content type. So Os3. Here it is. So if I did a hammer list, so I believe the one we just created, the great tree, is 8. So info 8. There you go. So this is the branch you have created. So it tells you that information. Now comes the next part. So you can do the same set of operations, synchronize. And yeah, this might be faster because I previously synced the repo, but if not, I'm going to cancel it. Okay, let's assume it's there. I'm just going to cancel because I have previously synchronized this repo. So I'm going to use this guy. I'm going to use Fedora repo here that I have. It's the same thing. It's just synced. So you can add it to a. So the other functionality I was going to show here was that we can now we can add it to a content view. You can similarly do a publish, and now there's a new ad that David added that is about promotion. So we can promote across environments. So let's see what environments I have in my organization.
Try and wrap up, Parth. I'll give you 30 seconds.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So I have already promoted this guy. I can just show you that I already promoted him to the dev environment. Post promotion, you can now see it puts it here. Publish. So Os3. The dev. There's the dev environment. So an atomic host will point to this repo pretty much to refresh to sync, and will pretty much point to this to get their content. I guess that's pretty much it. Any questions?
None currently, but we'll see what comes in. And in the meantime, we'll move over to our to Greg to give us community updates.
Thanks very much, Eric. So, yeah, this is not going to be code related. For those of you who've not seen the email to users and dev list, I got given the role of looking after the community for the next wee while. So I just wanted to give you a very quick update. I've literally been doing this now for 3 days. So I just wanted to give you a very quick update on just sort of what the initial plans look like and where we might be going. So there's going to be a bunch of stuff I'm doing. There's the really obvious stuff, conferences, events, stuff like that, IRC support. Going to be trying to move on with stalled PRs. So if you've got a PR that you are stuck on and you'd like some input, do ping me. I won't be able necessarily to give you the right answer, but I can probably find you the right person who can. I'm going to be looking into some sort of little side projects, so some demo stuff, looking at getting a demo up and running for people to play with when they first come into the community and start looking at whether they want to use Foreman. Documentation, so I'm already looking at the thing that Lukasz was talking about earlier on in the demo about external services and reviewing those docs. I mentioned back on the mailing list a few months ago about doing a screencast series for getting involved in Foreman and getting it up and running in your environments. That's something I'll be cracking on with. And if you have any other ideas for YouTube-y type things that we should do, I had a friend of mine suggest doing a sort of a let's play, if you like, for writing a plugin, which might be quite nice. I'm going to be doing some metrics, all that kind of good stuff. So there's going to be a community backlog. It's going to be public. I expect you guys to hold me to account on it, and you'll be able to see what's happening and make any suggestions. And if there's anything, do bring it up on the mailing list, and I'll do my best to reply to it. Yeah, that's really all I have to say just now, but hopefully in future sprints we'll be able to talk a bit more.
All right, thank you, Greg. We'll move over to see if Dimitri's technical difficulties have fixed themselves.
Let's see. Can you see the screen now?
We can.
Cannot.
No, we can.
Oh, okay. Able to, right?
Yes, you're good to go.
Awesome. All right, so like last time I was trying to show you the flag to enable user data. So it's actually on the image. So make sure that you enable it, otherwise the template is not going to be used, and you're gonna end up with a VM based on the image without any changes that you probably want. Anyway, let's try to actually create a new host. So it's a libvirt provider, don't care about interfaces. Rather we do, but it's all part of the host group. So image based, I only have one image, so it populated for me automatically. Stupid password. Crank up to 1 gig. I've had issues with less. Yeah. All right. So that actually worked. So I don't know if you noticed, the build status was pending. So we're building the host, and it's done. Remember I showed you that in the template we define a new user, admin, so that's this user. Oh, give me a break. Maybe I don't know what happened. Letting me in. I swear to God, it did just a minute ago. Well, had it worked, we would be able to get in. If we go back, you'll see that the build actually was installed. So it's part of that cloud init script. If you're very curious, I can redo the install once again just to see that we can get in using the credentials that I specified during the build. But that's really it. So I don't know if there are any more questions or any questions whatsoever. Let me just try it once again very quickly. Hopefully it's quick. Just keep that define password there. I'll have to do this. Bingo! There we are. Oh, that's really it.
Very nice. Thank you, Dimitri. And then lastly, I will try what I started with on the original demo to show our conversion to scope search for Puppet modules, which is really about showing the inventory page for Puppet modules. So hopefully my screen can be seen. And hopefully it has not ended the broadcast this time.
Mo, we're still here, but I don't see your screen.
You don't see my screen. I see my screen. Why don't I see my screen? Do you see it now?
I can see it.
Well, maybe it's just me then.
All right, I'll make this quick. And so part of our conversion over from our use of Elasticsearch to scope search is that we have moved our various content types into the database, and as a result of that, added inventory pages for those types. Previously, we showed errata, packages. What we've recently converted is Puppet modules, so now there is a top-level menu item for Puppet modules, which I can show you after I have to log in again. The idea is that these top-level Puppet modules is showing you Puppet modules that you have either synced by creating a repository in Kitello, or that you have uploaded to a repository. And the idea is that you can browse them, search on them just like other content types, and see some detailed information about them.
Eric, we can't see them, or at least I can't see, or it's no issue.
Yeah, if you're just seeing a white page, it's still just loading. I can't tell you why it's taking so long to suddenly decide to load. I'll give it a few more seconds and just sort of talk over it and hopefully show a few things. If not, we'll just call it a day on technical difficulties. There we go. So I assume you can see that now, Ivan?
Yes, thanks.
So there's a top-level inventory page that should list and show you all the Puppet modules. So you can see here I have a lot because I synced all of Puppet Forge. what you'll see is that multiples of the same Puppet module will appear to appear. For example, if we look at ActiveMQ, you'll see multiples listed for ActiveMQ, but if you notice, the difference is the fact that there are multiple authors and multiple versions. And that's why we list it, because even though it has the same name, it's not necessarily the same, there's not the same relation. So if we clicked on one, what we should see is basic information that we're getting from Pulp that we've parsed, that has been parsed out of the metadata. We can also then see what library repositories it's a part of, and if it was in a content view, which I don't believe this one is, it would list the content views and the environments that that particular Puppet module is available in. And because we've converted to scope search, it means that you can search through here on either author, name of the Puppet module, or summary, or even if you want to look through version. So should be able to find, say, for example, all of the modules published by the Foreman and their versions. And as I mentioned previously, like all other operations that use Puppet modules remain the same, so the ability to add them, upload them, manage, remove them from repositories, add them to content views, and publish them, all that functionality remains the same as before. The difference is we now have this top-level inventory page that you can browse through the modules for and use scope search here and in other places to narrow down the list of Puppet modules and find what you're looking for. And with that, I'll roll over and see if there are any last-minute questions as we wrap up. Looks like we had one question. I assume the summary is not calling into Pulp, just using the DB. Whatever you see on the table view, so the summary here, yes, is pulling from the database. Some of the attributes when you're viewing the details are pulling from Pulp. The idea being that the index pages try and pull just from the database to be as fast as possible, but when you see the details, we still pull from Pulp, since it should be a low-cost call to retrieve one data item from them. All right, and with that, we'll wrap it up. Apologies to everyone for the technical difficulties, but we were able to get through it. And thank you to all the presenters for giving us updates and showing off what you've been working on over the past 3 weeks, and to all those viewing and watching either live or in the future. We appreciate all questions and your participation. I will send out a link to the recording and the agenda to the user list. And as always, if you watch this later, or if you had unanswered questions during the live demo, please feel free to reply to the users list thread regarding the demo, and the developers and presenters will respond back and answer your questions there. Thank you and good night.
Bye-bye.